Welcome friends, it's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is a part of the Card Crafters Collaborative Hop here on YouTube, hosted by Robin Marshall Clark, the Delta Crafter. And our theme today is Holiday Delights. I will link to the next person in the hop. Be sure to go over and check out their video and show them some love. I'm using the color layering poinsettia window stencils by Hero Arts, and the back of the packaging shows you exactly how to layer it. Here I placed a half sheet of sand cardstock into my MISTI and added at the top a 1-inch placeholder so that I can line my stencil up in the exact same place every time. And that is because I am actually making a 5x7 card and want to be sure that I've centered my stencil as much as possible, and then I can come back with each layer, stencil layer, and add it in the correct position. Here I brought in my Distress Oxide and Kitsch Flamingo, and I am adding that through the stencil, and I'm applying this direct to paper. And I do want to keep this color fairly light, but I am going over it a few times just to bring out more pink. And when I'm done with each stencil, I'm going to set it to the side because these are water-based inks. They clean up nicely by running them underwater. Unlike dye inks, they don't usually stain your stencils, and you don't have to run them underwater right away. I'm bringing in my Distress ink in Victorian Velvet, and that is because I don't own it in the Distress Oxide ink. And you'll notice that every time I add some of the ink and use it on top of my Kitsch Flamingo, I will first use my towel that I have over on the side. I will go ahead and clean that off so that I don't cross-contaminate my inks. I brought in Stencil B and lined it up, put my magnets on, and then I have brought in my Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink, and I am just using that to go over all of the stenciled area. And then I will bring in my Distress ink in Victorian Velvet. And the reason I used the Unicorn White ink is because I wanted a slightly different color, finished color through Stencil B. Then I got through Stencil A, where I used first the Kitsch Flamingo and then the Victorian Velvet on top. So I want this second set of colors to add more texture and depth by being slightly different from the first set. Because my Victorian Velvet is darker than my Hero Hues, I don't necessarily need to keep wiping that off in between applications like I did with the two colors I used in Stencil A. For Stencil C, I'm bringing in Distress Oxide Evergreen Bough. This is going to give me a soft green color. I think this green pairs nicely with the pinks that I've chosen for the design. And here I am placing stencil D in my Misty and bringing in that evergreen bough again. And that is because it's a pigment ink, and I am using it as the base for this stencil. And now here I'm going to bring in my Distress ink in Pine Needles. Again, I don't own this one in Distress Inks, so I've already placed my Evergreen Bough pigment ink down, and so I'm going to, I'm now placing this Pine Needles over top so that I can get some variation in color and texture and more depth. And look at all of this cuteness. I am, well, this will dry back. My greens will tone down just a hair, or at least the pine needles will. So now I'm placing this in my splatter or splat box and bringing in my Dina Wakley acrylic paint or acrylic spray in white, and just adding lots of splatter to this piece. Okay, I am going to die cut out the word joy using this paper rose die, alphabet die. This one is called alphabet metal die, but they're large dies. Let me see. That's what attracted me to them. They are like about an inch, yeah, about a 1 inch high. So they are very large. Cut my joy out of scrap cardstock, 120 pound. Cut 3 of those and stacked them, glued and stacked them together. And now I'm looking through this paper rose sentiment strip set, and will cut out a sub-sentiment. Now that my panel is dry, I'm using a waffle flower A7 scallop die to cut out my focal panel. I've placed my panel back inside of my Misty and a small T ruler, and lined that up approximately where I want my sentiment to go. And so now I'm bringing in my joy letters, and we'll go ahead and glue down the J, the first letter, and then Y, the last letter, and then center my O between the two so that that looks pretty centered. I'm affixing my letters using Ranger Multimedia Matte Glue, and it does dry clear, and I've added a precision tip to it just so that I can get in small places like behind these letters. And once I get my main sentiment affixed, I will then bring in my sub-sentiment and center that underneath. Here, I've applied foam tape to the back of my panel and partially released the release paper, and then placed it on my mat. And once I get it positioned the way I want it, then I will go ahead and commit it by removing that remaining release paper. I've applied double-sided tape to the back of the mat and partially released it, and adding liquid glue in between and on the exposed areas of the tape so that I have wiggle room to affix my panel to my card base. Next, I have brought in some Studio Katia crystal, sparkling crystal gems, and will use my jewel picker to go ahead and affix those to my panel with liquid glue. Here is a card I made off camera, and you can see that the detail is a little different, more white, and then I used a white gel pen to add white dots because I had forgotten to use splatter. Let me know in the comments which one you like best. And don't forget to visit the other crafty YouTubers in this hop. That detail is listed below. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked the video and will give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if not already a subscriber. Good day, friends.